Aloha, everybody. This is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks, episode 5. I wanted to go over UFC Vegas 56 and also talk about the NBA Finals. Also go over the Stanley Cup playoffs. And also want to mention about the National Lacrosse League Championship. Also, I want to really get into the Padres, Diego Padres, how they're doing lately. And so let's get into it. So last Saturday, UFC Vegas 56 took place at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, and it was headlined by a matchup between heavyweights. You had Alexander Volkov going up against Lorenzo Rosenstruck. On paper, it should be a good matchup. It should be mostly a stand-up fight, which it was. And a lot of great fights, or a lot of finishes actually on that card. So I want to start off with the Gladiator Baretninov. He just manhandled Michelitis for 3 rounds, and it was unanimous decision. Great work by Faregnov. He should be a problem going forward at the 170 class. And the fact that if he goes up against better competition as time goes on, along with Chimaev, these two guys in particular are going to dominate the 170 division, which is already headed by the 170 champion Kamaru Usman, who's already a multifaceted champion for the weight class with his striking and his grappling game. So it should be interesting to see what happens going forward. To see at some point Kamaru Usman will face one of these two guys down the road. So here's to watching some good fights at 170. The next fight off the UFC Vegas card, after that, was Molina versus Zumagulov. That was a good fight, actually. And the funny part about this fight was that it was such a close fight that when they announced the decision, it was actually a split decision victory for Jeff Molina. But the funny part about that was they first read the result as 29-28 for Molina. They also mentioned as 29-28 for Zumagulov. And then the part where it was announced that the third judge had said 30-27, at that point, Jeff Molina took his hand away from the referee and he started to walk out of the octagon. And then the funny part was that the ring announcer, Joe Martinez, when he said 30-27 for the third judge, he actually said Jeff Molina was the one who won the score as 30-27 for that judge. So a split decision victory for Jeff Molina. And the fact that he actually literally walked out of the octagon, just thinking that there's no way that he had won all 3 rounds. And when you heard 30-27, like, you know what, it must be for the other guy. But that's not the case. But funny nonetheless. So the fight after that, Gravely versus Munoz. That fight only lasted 1 minute 8 seconds. First round finish by punches, and Gravely was impressive. The reason why is because Munoz was trying to go for a takedown. The head of Munoz actually was somewhere around the hip, to the right side of Gravely. And it just so happens, as Munoz was doing that, Gravely had already winded up for a punch. I guess he was going for an uppercut. Um, but as he was going for the punch in that short amount of space was generating enough power to meet the head of Munoz right by the hip and was able to knock out Munoz with that short generated knockout punch by Gravely. So that was a nice KO. Um, but uh, I wanted to see more of the fight, but Munoz didn't really get to put much of a fight in that particular fight with Gravely. So we'll see what happens when Gravely moves on to his next opponent. So the one after that, um, we had Saint Denis going against Stoles. That fight actually ended with a rear naked choke in the second round at the 1 minute 32-second mark. It was kind of a exciting fight for the first round and a half, but it was nice to see Saint Denis um, pull out the rear naked choke in this fight. So he should be interesting fighter going forward. Ooh, the next fight after that, um, it was a 15-minute fight. Um, I had a feeling going in that Arguta was gonna probably pull off the big victory, an upset over Damon Jackson, but that was not the case. Damon Jackson uh, did pretty well, and he was able to withstand any kind of offense from Arguta. But Damon Jackson did have some moments where he looked kind of vulnerable, but um, kind of stuck with his game plan and did most of the damage as much as he can. And I can't wait to see more from these two guys actually going forward. So the future of that division um, looks kind of bright. So the one after that, you have Solecki going against the Silva. Well, that was a tight one. You actually had a score of 28-28, 28-27, and 29-27. So that is some funky scoring actually. So but Selecki was able to pull out the majority decision from that fight. Um but you know good fight overall. I mean, decent stand up fighting from both guys. So the next fight after that, it was actually the featured prelim fight. You have Karolina Kowalkiewicz going against Felice Herring, and this fight went to the second round. It actually got finished in 4 minutes and 1 second in the second round, and good fighting from both fighters. But Carolina had pulled out the rear naked choke and submitted Felice Herring. So after the submission by Carolina, um, Felice Herrick had done something, which is a symbolic um, action from fighters where a fighter would take off their, I guess, their boots or their gloves, and they put that in the middle of the ring or the octagon to signify, well, that kind of gesture would symbolize a retirement from the career. So when Felice Herrig put her gloves in the middle of the octagon, that had signified that she was retired from the sport of MMA. So she had a great career. Um, she would finish her career at 14-10. Um, Seen a few of her fights, decent fighter. So it's you know, the fact that she got the fight on TV and this is how she gets to go out. So even though she didn't win, but um she had her fun in the sun, so to speak. This is a great victory for Karolina Kowalskiewicz. She did somehow peak after defeating Rose Namajunas early in her career, and that earned her a title shot at the 115-pound title against Joanna. But even though she lost the fight to Joanna, from that point on, Karolina had been sliding down the ladder against other fighters. And so this is a nice victory for Karolina to get back in the winning column. So let's move on to the main card. So the opener for the main card was Menifield versus Marzarov. And this fight only lasted one round, 4 minutes and 40 seconds into the first round. And it was ended by elbows. And the part about this is that I think Menifield had actually got Mazarov in the crucifix, and he just started to rain down some elbows after Mazarov was unable to get out of the position of the crucifix from Menifield. So it was nice to see Menifield showcase something else other than his powerful striking. To see that he actually has some grappling skills. I'm glad that he's not one dimensional. So hopefully he'll work on his game in both aspects, and can't wait to see what else he can do. So the funny part about this particular fight was that at one point, Mozarov had actually tried to scream and stare, try to have an intimidating stare at Menifield, but Menifield had already taken him down and ended up working his way to the crucifix position after takedown. So, yeah, did not go very well for Mazarov. So, again, kudos to Menifield for the victory and getting the crucifix and proceed to do the raining down the elbows for the victory. So, another finish happened after this fight. It was O'Day Osborne going up against Adeshev. And this fight had only lasted 1 minute and 1 second. And all it took was one good punch from Osborne. And it was impressive knockout, actually. So I actually have some footage I posted on my Twitter, which is my handle at Tiggy Maximus 73. I go by Tiggy Maximus Bruce. So if you ever want to see my sports predictions, are all posted all on Twitter. I post sports predictions every day, basically on there. And also, I have a podcast that's purely audio, which is through Spotify and Anchor. So check me out. It's Tiggy Maximus Talks. um, okay. So getting back into the fights, there was another finish after that fight. It was Carini Silva going against Poliana Baltejo. And this fight had lasted 4 minutes and 55 seconds in the first round. And Silva had actually done a Darth choke, and quite impressive. Um, Basically, Carini had actually somehow kind of folded Botelho in like somewhat of a like an accordion or a pretzel type body position that she got her in. Um, she had one arm underneath the chin neck of Botelho, and then pulled her other arm and tried to lock in the choke, putting both arms close together as much as possible. And then just started to kind of pull Pollyanna's head more towards the body, and you can kind of see a curvature being formed with uh, with the head on the chest of Carini, and then you have the body starts to loop like a backward C, and then one of her legs, Carini had actually held onto one of the legs of Pollyanna with I think both of her thighs. So if you look at the way that Pollyanna's body is positioned during this choke, is that it looks like a backward C. So it looks so uncomfortable for Pollyanna. The head is already bent towards the chest of Carini, and then Pollyanna can't move her legs because it's caught between the two thighs of Carini. And then with the choke going on, Carini just kept making it tighter and tighter to the point where Pollyanna eventually had to tap out. I believe she tapped out. I don't think she passed out, but I think she tapped out. So that was an impressive choke win for Carini Silva. So I'd be looking forward to seeing what she does from that point on. Um, Another finish right after that fight. You had Trizano going up against Almeida. And this fight had gone to the third round, but the finish happened at 55 seconds into the third round. Trizano um, had actually won the Ultimate Fighter. I believe it was in the lightweight division, and Almeida was able to get some very accurate, um, significant strikes in the third round and leading up to it to that point of the finish. And Almeida did a great job with the stand up, and I am quite impressed with Almeida. So, Almeida, um, I'm looking forward to see how he does against the rest of the 155 pounders in the division. So, and then Trizano, I think he has to go back to the drawing board. Ever since he won the Ultimate Fighter, he's been kind of alternating wins and losses, so he has some stuff to work on. And I feel that most fighters nowadays who win the Ultimate Fighter, I guess for some strange reason, I feel that they don't do so well after the second or third fight since the reality show. So they always have a tall task ahead of them, trying to get through the competition in their weight class that they choose. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens with them going forward. Okay, so the fight after that, this one had actually gone the entire 3 rounds, and it was not even close. So Danny Ige, who's also known as 50K because he keeps banking 50K bonuses for most of his fights, and he's always by knockout. But given that is because for those bonuses that he earned it through knockouts, that really tells me that he's more of a just purely a striker. So I don't see much of a jiu-jitsu game, karate, kung fu, taekwondo. Just tells me that he just works on mostly his striking, and that's pretty much his bread and butter. Now, given that it's mostly a limited one-dimensional skill set to have, where you're just purely a power puncher, Evolev is very multifaceted. He's great at jiu-jitsu or grappling, um, a decent stand-up game. So it was nice seeing Evolev, and I kind of knew that Evolev was gonna do different things to try to see where he can attack Dan Ige on various disciplines, and Evolev was able to drag Dan Ige into deep waters and try to force him into do something else other than striking, and it kind of threw off Dan Ige the entire fight. And so Evolev was able to dominate in a one-sided fight over Dan Ige, take the victory. Now, the fight after that is the main event. And the main event was an actual finish, early finish. And it only had lasted 2 minutes and 12 seconds in the first round. And you have Alexander Volkov pulling out the victory with punches. He was just clocking Jorenzo Rosenstruck. And Rosenstruck didn't really have much of a response. I mean, he did get to land 6 punches, but it was not effective enough to take out Alexander Volkov. And Volkov, pretty much with the height advantage and a striking advantage, and just kind of utilized that to his strengths, and was able to take out Rosenstruck. I actually felt that Rosenstruck didn't really have much else to offer. He's purely a power puncher. I mean, Volkov, he's mostly a striker too, but because he has such a wide reach and very lanky, it tells me that if this is purely going to be a striking fest, then he has the advantage with using his reach to have a better chance of reaching his opponent than his opponent to reach him. So kudos to Alexander Volkov for capping the big night of finishes, and made for an exciting card to watch on Saturday. So can't wait for UFC 275 happening on June 11th, Saturday, which is main evented by the light heavyweight champion Glover Teixeira going up against the number 1 contender, Jiri Prochazka. So my prediction for that fight is that Jiri Prochazka will dethrone Glover Teixeira, and that might mean the end of Glover Teixeira for his MMA career. So he is actually the oldest champion on the UFC roster, and the fact that he actually won the championship at his age is quite impressive. So, but I feel that this coming Saturday, Jiri's the future, and he's going to be the champion on Saturday night. So should be fun to watch. And in the co-main event, it's Valentina Shevchenko defending her women's 125 pound championship against Thalia Santos, who I believe is 18-1, 19-1. So it won't be a cakewalk, but Valentina, I believe, is going to win that fight against Thalia Santos. So we'll see what happens with that. Moving forward, let's talk about the Stanley Cup Padres. So Stanley Cup Padres, they are actually starting to light it up now, and it's amazing to see because they had just defeated the Milwaukee Brewers and took 3 out of 4 from the Milwaukee Brewers going into Milwaukee, and they ended up winning 4 out of the 7 matchups in the season series. So kudos to the Sega Padres. And this is after they got swept in St. Louis to the Cardinals. So it's a nice way to respond to it. And the Brewers, they were one of the best teams in the National League. And the fact that they got manhandled by the Sega Padres tells me, well, the Sega Padres now have heard probably all the criticisms about their offense being very futile recently, and then just not having relief pitching that can help close out the games and stuff. So even though the Padres had blown a 4-1 lead in Milwaukee last Thursday to start the 4-game series with the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee, and then Tyler Rogers, being the best closer in the game, or one of the best closers in the game, had just a big meltdown, and it led to having no outs recorded while 4 runs had scored for the Milwaukee Brewers to win 5-4. But after that, the San Diego Padres, I think, just ended up. I think they blanked the Milwaukee Brewers for the next 2 games, and then it set up the finale on Sunday, and the Padres came back from a 1-0 deficit to go up 3-1, but also having the same problem where they give up 2 runs to allow the Milwaukee Brewers to tie it at 3-3. But the San Diego Padres kept their composure, started the 10th inning, and what do you know? The Padres ended up hitting a 3-run homer by, I believe it was Jake Cronenworth. So they went up 6-3, and they held on and won 6-4 to cap off the not only the 4-game series in Milwaukee and taking 3 out of 4, but also winning 4 of the 7 games against the Milwaukee Brewers for the whole season. So kudos to the Padres for doing that. And I actually had gone to a Padres game this past Tuesday night against the NL best New York Mets. So the Mets had actually won the first game on Monday night. It was 11-5. But I went on Tuesday night, and what do you know? Padres had started Yu Darvish, and Yu Darvish had helped the Padres win 7-0 against New York Mets. So it was a fun night. Again, beautiful stadium. It's already one of the best stadiums in the United States, if not the world, and has some good food, good company, and it was a nice cap, nice end to the night when the Padres ended up winning against the New York Mets, shutting them out. Even better, even sweeter. So, and what do you know? Wednesday night, the San Diego Padres ended up winning 13-2 to cap off the 3-game series with New York Mets. So again, the Padres just woke up this week. So they're scoring runs and winning games with authority, and the pitch is even greater. So a lot of great things happening for the San Diego Padres. So kudos to the San Diego Padres. I'd like to mention the National Lacrosse League Championship finals going on, and you have the Colorado Mammoth representing the Western Conference going up against the Buffalo Bandits representing the Eastern Conference. Best of 3 series for the championship. And what do you know? The Buffalo Bandits had scored the game-winning goal with 55 seconds left in the game, and the Buffalo Bandits was able to stop a last-second attempt at a goal, and so the Buffalo Bandits ended up winning. It was 10-9 or 13-2. 10-9 or 13-12. So I think it was 13-12. So great win for the Buffalo Bandits, and they're one win away from winning the 2022 National Lacrosse League Championship. Game 2 is going to be in Colorado on this coming Saturday, June 11th. And hopefully Colorado can extend the series to force a game 3 going to Buffalo. So we'll see what happens. Just indoor lacrosse, professional indoor lacrosse is always fun to watch. Just a lot of back and forth action. I had hoped the San Diego Seals had been there. They're that close. But, there's always next year. They've always got something to build on. So hopefully they upgrade at goaltender. So the Seals offense looks pretty good, and decent defense as long as they upgrade at goalie. So we'll see what happens. But I'll keep tabs on the National Lacrosse League Championship on the Saturday, and hopefully there might be an exciting game 3 finale. So we'll see what happens with that. Stanley Cup final. Oh, not the final. Stanley Cup playoffs round 3. So the Colorado Avalanche easily had handled the Edmonton Oilers, and they swept them 4-0. So they're waiting in the Stanley Cup finals. They're waiting for the Eastern Conference Championship to be completed. Right now it's 2-2 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Rangers. So the Rangers had won the first 2, and then the Lightning won the next 2. So game 5 is going to happen Thursday night. I'm guessing that whoever wins game 5 is pretty much going to win the series. That's my gut feeling. I'm hoping it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Lightning versus Colorado Avalanche should be one of the most epic Stanley Cup finals in recent history. So, I mean, you got you have this overwhelming freight train that's the Colorado Avalanche coming out from the Western Conference, the number 1 seed coming out from the West, and kind of just steamrolling through the competition. So, and then you have the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and you also got your New York Rangers, who have not been to the Stanley Cup, I believe, since 1994. So that was when they won the Stanley Cup and beat the Vancouver Canucks. So it's been quite some time there. 28 years. That's a long time. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm pretty excited. So I wanted to mention I did get to watch Devin Haney fight against George Kambosos. Exciting fight, but it got to be to the point where it started to be mostly one-sided, and I actually had scored it basically 9 rounds to 3. So it would have been, I think, 118 to 112. No, 118 to 110. Is that right? No, 117 to 111 is what I had it. So 9 rounds to 3. But 2 of the judges had actually said it was 116 to 112. So that comes out to I think 8 to 4. 8 rounds for Devin Haney, 4 rounds to Kambosos. And then one judge had it 118 to 110, which is basically um, 10 rounds for Devin Haney and 2 rounds for George Kambosos. So I was close enough and stuff. But yeah, unanimous decision for Devin Haney, and doing so, he has unified all 4 lightweight championships for the weight class. So I would say the big money fight to make after this is to do Devin Haney to go up against Lomachenko. So that would be very fun to watch. Very explosive, a lot of back and forth action. I could see it being one of the blockbuster fights of either the rest of this year or possibly sometime early 2023. So I want to finish this off by talking about the NBA Finals. So the NBA Finals 2022, you have two of the hottest teams in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. And the Golden State Warriors had lost the first game 120 to 108. Even though they started pretty hot in game one, Steph Curry had hit 6 3-pointers and he ended up with 21 points in the first quarter. It seemed to be an epic night waiting to happen. Unfortunately, the Boston Celtics um, ended up shooting a lot of threes, making them, and they overcame the early hot start from the Golden State Warriors, and they took game one, 120 to 108. Now, once they had started game two, it was pretty much the Warriors. They won 107 to 88. So um, it was a good game too. And it was a good bounce back for the Warriors. But here's the thing. So game three happened on Wednesday night. And it was a good game for the Boston Celtics. So they did jump out to an early lead, and then you had the Warriors just keep clawing back, eating at the big lead. And that's actually at some point, the Warriors had actually led, I believe it was 83-82 after being down 18 early. And they actually went up 83-82 because Steph Curry had started a 7-point possession. He hit a 3-pointer. He got foul. It was a flagrant one foul that had happened. So he actually was able to hit a free throw and keep the ball. And not only did he make the free throw, but seconds later, the Warriors had actually scored another 3-pointer. So it became a 7-point possession. So that's doesn't really happen very often, if ever at all. So, and that actually got the Warriors up 83-82. But the Boston Celtics responded, and they were pretty much winning for most of the night. Um, so the Boston Celtics ended up winning 116 to 100. So, and it looks like Steph Curry actually got hurt during a scramble for one of the balls, loose balls. So, um, I don't know if Steph Curry is going to be healthy enough 100% for game four on Friday in Boston. So that should be interesting to see. And if he doesn't seem to be healthy enough, Boston could probably win game four as well and go up 3-1 going back to San Francisco. So we'll see what happens with that. But it was a good overall game. It was nice seeing Klay Thompson and Steph Curry hitting their shots. They had made up, I believe it was like 56 points out of the 100. So, um, but it was not enough. And you can kind of see the hustle plays from Boston. And plus, they have the size advantage on Golden State Warriors for a lot of the rebounds and loose balls. So, Warriors have some things to think about, and hopefully they can turn things around before the series gets out of hand. Um, Again, I actually don't want either team to win, but I'm a big Steph Curry fan. So, yeah. All right. Um, so that's it, guys. And this is Tiggy Maximus. I'm signing off, and hope everyone is going to have a good week, and talk to you guys again soon. Here's to more sports and more good food.